We're less than 2 months removed from the launch of the iPhone 16. Here are the latest rumors of what's coming, coupled with some exclusive renders of the new design for iPhone 16 and iPhone 16 Pro. We should probably start with the new design before hitting on the processor and camera upgrades later in the video. The size of the two entry-level phones will remain basically the same, and they'll retain the existing 6.1-inch and 6.7-inch displays. It's a different story for the Pro Duo though, as both will be getting slightly larger. The iPhone 16 Pro will now boast a 6.27-inch display, up from 6.1, and the iPhone 16 Pro Max will measure up at 6.85 inches, up from 6.7, a roughly 0.2 increase for each phone. My guess is Apple will market these as 6.3 and 6.9 inch displays, respectively. These new screen sizes have been reiterated repeatedly. Ming-Chi Kuo predicted the larger screens in early May, as did Ross Young. This will yield slightly chunkier phones though, about the same size as the iPhone 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max. Apple doesn't want to increase the size too much though, as it's also looking to decrease the bezels at the same time, according to the elec. This is already proving easier said than done though. Apple wants to use border reduction structures, BRS, on the bottom bezel of the iPhone 16 OLED display, but suppliers have been struggling to accomplish this according to the most recent supply chain reports. So, what displays will Apple be using here? According to South Korea's ET News, the iPhone 16 Pro and iPhone 16 Pro Max will be the first iPhones to use Samsung's new M14 OLED display panels. The S24 series uses Samsung's M13 OLED tech, and these new panels will be employed by both Apple's flagship devices and the Google Pixel 9 series. This updated tech will reportedly be more durable and have increased brightness. One thing we won't see quite yet is the tandem OLED technology. Apple used this on the new iPad Pros, but it'll still be a bit before we see this improvement come to iPhone. Some rumors have suggested Apple will be changing the Face ID module, but we're not sure quite how yet. The Telegraph said in May that Apple's supplier is possibly shutting down after Apple stopped using them due to changes for the iPhone 16 Face ID setup. This was corroborated by DigiTimes more recently, but again, no specifics on what those Face ID changes may be. The last big change to the design comes by way of a new button. After the Action button debuted on iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max, we'll see a second edition. By the way, it looks like that Action button will be coming to the iPhone 16 and 16 Plus this year too. The all-new button though is the Capture button, and it's coming to all 4 models. This will reside on the lower right side, meaning Apple will need to relocate its camera cutout to the opposite side this year. The Capture button does what the name implies, and has been one of the most persistent rumors surrounding these next-generation handsets. It'll operate similar to an actual camera. Press it halfway down to focus, and press it all the way to take a photo or start recording a video. On existing iPhones, you can already do something like this by pressing the volume buttons, but it does lack that focus ability, and the camera module is upside down. If you want to learn more camera tips, by the way, check out my other dedicated video that I've linked here, which is full of great ways to upgrade your photography game. The information says that this new button will be touch sensitive too, meaning that you could slide your finger left and right to zoom in and out. I'm actually really excited for this feature. iOS 18 also lets you replace the camera button on your lock screen with other actions, so it makes even more sense to have a dedicated button that will instantly open up your camera. With that said, let's talk about the cameras. Let's pause for a second. I gotta thank my sponsor for this video, ESR. If you've got an iPhone, you probably need to charge it at some point. And if you know anything about me, you know that I love MagSafe and Qi 2 chargers, and ESR has a pair of new ones that I am totally stoked to show you. This is the ESR Qi 2 3-in-1 travel wireless charger. When it's folded, it's barely thicker than my iPhone. And when you open it up, you have a Qi 2 charger right there on the front that'll give you 15 watts of wireless power. Then around back, you'll find a little pedestal for your AirPods or other Qi device to charge, and the USB-C port where you can plug in that Apple Watch charger. By the way, this supports Apple certified fast charging, which means you can charge an Apple Watch Ultra to 100% in an hour and 40 minutes, which is 4.5 times faster than other 2.5 watt chargers. Since it can be used as a stand, it works great for standby mode too. See your little alarm clock, see widgets, or just watch a video. This is the ESR Qi 2 mini wireless charger. It magnetically connects to the back of your iPhone, has an integrated braided USB-C cable with even a metal cover on the end of it. This will charge your iPhone at up to 15 watts of power, which is the maximum wireless charging for your iPhone 12, 13, 14, or 15. That 15 watts is super quick. Since it is Qi 2 certified, you can charge your iPhone 15 Pro Max to 85% in just 2 hours, which is twice as fast as a standard 7.5 watt charger. Not only do these have great quality, but they're also really affordable. If you want to check any of them out, there's links for them down below in the description. Thanks again to ESR for sponsoring this video. On the iPhone 16 and 16 Plus, the changes seem fairly minimal. We haven't heard many specifics on the sensor, so I expect them to be fairly comparable to the ones we have now, with improvements coming from a better ISP. The biggest change will be the vertical orientation, going back to the old iPhone 10 days. This is not just a visual change though. It'll likely allow the new phone to shoot spatial video for Vision Pro, a feature currently limited to the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. For the iPhone 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max, that's a different story. The primary camera will be improved with a new larger sensor. Weibo user Digital Chat Station claims the new sensor will be a 1/1.14 inch sensor, which is larger than the 1/1.28 inch sensor found on the existing Pro phones. Apple's impressive 5 times optical zoom from the iPhone 15 Pro Max will make its way to its new smaller sibling, the iPhone 16 Pro, delivering camera parity once again between the two sizes. This too has been reported time and time again as we approach the launch. So the main camera is getting a larger sensor, and the 6.3 inch Pro is getting better zoom. What else will change? It appears that the ultra-wide camera will be finally getting a spec bump itself, moving to 48 megapixel. The reason Apple is finally doing this now is again because of Vision Pro. Spatial video can only be recorded at 1080p currently, on your iPhone at least. The reason why is because it uses 2 cameras, the primary camera and the ultra-wide camera. To make the images match, it has to crop in the ultra-wide lens. In doing so, it lowers the usable resolution of that 12 megapixel sensor. If Apple does up it to 48 megapixels as expected, it could crop that in and easily allow for 4K spatial video capture. Lastly, an August rumor claims that all Pro lenses will have a new coating to help reduce flares and improve image quality. It's a new technology called Atmos layer deposition that's only a few nanometers thick and could also potentially reduce ghosting. Internally, Apple will be increasing the battery sizes for all new phones, some up to like 8% larger. Li Nan, founder of Weibo's Angry Meow community, has said that Apple will be increasing charging speeds too. Wired charging will go from 27 to 40 watts, and MagSafe will go from 15 watts to 20 watts. I'm very curious if that means MagSafe will again be faster than Qi 2, which is actually based on MagSafe. I'm obsessed with Qi 2 and MagSafe chargers. If you are too, sound off down below in the comments and even share your favorite ones. Lastly, for the internals is the processor. Unsurprisingly, Apple will be using a new A18 chip for all 4 phones. Code, as surfaced by Twitter user Nicholas Alvarez and shared with Mac Rumors, says they'll be using the same chip for all of them. That said, my guess is Apple will still break them up into A18 and A18 Pro chips, as first started with the A17 Pro in the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. The reason Apple needs to use the same chip usually helps support Apple Intelligence, which has high neural engine and memory requirements. I think it would just be way too confusing if Apple introduced like the A17 or A17 Pro onto the 16s and then it had an A18 Pro on the high-end phones. A18 and A18 Pro makes a lot more sense. Like Apple does with the M series chips, Apple will probably use bin versions of the chips for the Pro editions that have higher GPU and CPU core counts. Aside from that, we've also heard mention that Apple will be including support for Wi-Fi 7. I really hope that's the case. The new devices are expected to launch this September, alongside new versions of Apple Watch. Let me know down below if you plan on upgrading this year or if you're holding out. In the meantime, be sure you subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you don't miss the latest Apple news. Resolution of that 12 megapixel sensor. It lowers the resolution. Got this.